Well, welcome everybody. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to hit the subscribe button.
I remember in middle school when you felt self-conscious if you were the last one to go through puberty. That really went topsy-turvy, didn't it?
Sometimes the Hasbara, it's too much explaining yourself and it's too apologetic.
Be sure to hit the notifications bell.
I actually do believe Israel won't just bomb countless civilians.
Be sure to tweet this out. Be sure to put this up on your Facebook.
You have to be kind to people. Be kind to the guys in this mess in the first place.
Put this up on your Reddit.
Chile is a country.
Be sure to cut and paste, a link to this to go into your favorite Facebook chat group.
It's good to see so many normal people in here.
Now, spanking isn't just my deep, dark personal secret. It's America's deep, dark secret.
I've never seen it explained so simply anywhere.
Put this on WhatsApp. Put this on Telegram. Put this on your favorite messenger app.
Hello and welcome to the Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull called Elise. And, well, I know everybody must be utterly shocked in Minneapolis. It turned out that Tim Waltz and Jacob Frey were not, in fact, serious about opposing ICE. They, after saying all the things they said, all they could think to do was to send the cops out to attack the people who were protesting ICE. So, just, they are consistent. There is at least that. I was thinking recently that in the midst of all of this, with the attack on Venezuela and all the other just fucked up international shit, like the threats against Greenland and everything, the real victim of all of this is Caleb Maupin. Now that may seem a bit counterintuitive, I guess, a little bit, just a little though, but bear with me, because you gotta just remember that Caleb Maupin went in hard on the whole MAGA equals peace thing. He went hard on that. He even printed out that banner claiming that Trump wanted the reunification of the Korean Peninsula, that he still brings out at their little get-togethers in parks. And Trump has just made it his mission to tear the shreds of Caleb's dignity off him every time Caleb managed to somehow get him adjusted again. And given that, I thought we might check in on him. How's everybody doing, chat? Oh, okay, here's a good one. Caleb's going to tell us about the ethical responsibility of anti-imperialist voices. That's on topic.
I've been talking to a lot of people. Lately, a lot of things have been happening. This was a wild day on many, many levels. A lot of crazy...
Yeah, that's true. I got to give him that. A lot of things have been happening. And he's probably been talking to a lot of people. And maybe some of them told him about ethics, and that's why he suddenly decided in this blurry version of him that is the only one we ever get to see. Like, just almost pixelated because he can't work the autofocus. To tell us about ethics.
Things happen today. All good things, though. It was like a lot of good things kind of lined up today. But one thing that happened is there's a friend of mine, shout out if you're watching, who reached out to me. Guy I hadn't heard from in a little while, but we recently reestablished contact. And he was telling me how much he was just horrified by the support for Aaron Bushnell on the left. And there's...
Wait, this is when... Okay, when was this from? When did he make this? This is a month ago. Okay. So he's being very topical here. And what does he mean, the support for Aaron Bushnell? In the sense...
Probably people in the chat who disagree with me about that. That's fine. We you know, there's going to be disagreements about things. But
the paperwork says I am your ideological leader, so I'm right anyway.
You know, Aaron Bushnell, the response to Aaron Bushnell's suicide by the left was abominable.
This is 2 years. It's been 2 years. This is like the first time he's ever said anything about it. Okay, what's abominable about it?
It was utterly abominable, right? Now, I'm not saying the guy didn't, you know, I mean, his heart really bled for the Palestinians. He was really...
I mean, see, this is fascinating because he's talking about somebody who actually decided to, I mean, make an actual sacrifice for something. I mean, in a moment, out of it was a desperate sort of sacrifice, but Caleb's never done that in his fucking life. He has no idea what that even means.
Horrified by what's going on, and I respect that. And he also
he respects that people are horrified about the genocide. That is so big of him. That's such anti-imperialist vibes there.
He thought that he might have to go participate in it.
No, he actually knew for a fact that he was going to have to go participate in it because he was in the Air Force, and he was actually very specific about the things that he was the ways in which he was directly going to be involved in it.
Which, you know, I mean, he could have gone to prison and become a conscientious objector. He could have tried to run away. He could have gone AWOL. He had other options, but in his mind, perhaps he did have other options. Why the fuck are you talking about this right now, though? Like, I mean, do we really need a critique of Aaron Bushnell's actions? It's worth noting, I mean, this guy claims to, like, be on side with Yemen, for example. Yemen actually, the million-person march in Yemen around that time, people had Aaron Bushnell's photo and his portrait on huge fucking banners recognizing his sacrifice. In Gaza, I believe they named a street after him. And he had no choice but to go be part of it. Well, that was mental illness. And he committed suicide. And the guy had serious mental health problems, and he committed suicide in a very theatrical way. And it's a sad, horrific, sad...
I mean, this is wild, like trying to just totally depoliticize this. Because it was very specifically an act of protest. He decided that was the thing that he could do. He very specifically said it was going to be an extreme act of protest on film when he did it. He live streamed it. Like, what the I mean, obviously, let me just say, I didn't know that this is where we were going to go, and obviously content warnings around this, certainly. But, like, why the fuck are we talking about this 2 years later? Why has he just suddenly decided to have a take on this 2 years later?
When someone commits suicide. It's a horrible thing. But the absolute wrong thing to do was celebrate that.
Nobody celebrated that. Nobody fucking celebrated that, Caleb.
Why? Why was it the wrong thing to do to celebrate it? Because...
I mean, okay, so hypothetically, in a timeline where people had celebrated it, rather than trying to carry, using his dying wish as a mobilizing, a rallying cry. I mean, I guess we can talk about hypothetically why it would be bad to celebrate it, but, like, nobody did, so why are we talking about it? It's been 2 fucking years, nobody's fucking celebrated it.
People who commit suicide often do it because they feel helpless and they feel that that's the only way they can
Well, why don't you talk about, like, what he wrote? Because he was very specific in what he wrote.
remembered. That's the only way other people can hear their pain. It's a really... It's people that are suicidal are not in touch with reality. And they're in a huge amount of emotional pain.
I mean, you could say that about, like, people who are in a cult, too, Caleb.
And when Aaron Bushnell killed himself, and then social media exploded with people saying, oh my god, it was so amazing what he did.
No, that's not what they fucking said. Like, what fucking people is he talking to that he was talking to people who were saying, oh, it's so amazing what he did? Or is the whole reason he waited 2 years because he wanted to make sure that fucking... that people would not remember it well enough? That they would think that this is an accurate description?
That killed people.
Really? Well, we've had 2 years. Can you give some examples?
There are... I can guarantee you there's probably at least 10 or 20 people who died because that happened, who would not have died.
I mean, but it didn't happen, that because people didn't say that.
Right? If they had been feeling depressed, they'd been feeling suicidal, but then they'd never heard of Aaron Bushnell, they had just, whatever, gotten help.
Like, again, not the same thing, actually.
They'd still be alive today. There are people, though, that were thinking about killing themselves, they were depressed, they were suicidal.
Jesus, like, I mean, what, okay, leaving aside the fact that he's just creating this alternate timeline here, this headcanon, so that he can go back 2 years and criticize Aaron Bushnell for a completely depoliticized version of what he did. Why? I mean, like, just totally depoliticizing it. But then to just do this thing and now to condemn people who didn't actually say the things he's attributing to him for people who hypothetically would have died if they had said them. Like, Caleb, this isn't how ethics works.
And then Aaron Bushnell, look, this guy killed himself. Look, everyone's sympathizing with him.
No, God, Jesus Christ. Like, I wonder, Caleb. Could it possibly be that he said some things and what people were sympathizing with was what he said? Could it be that that's what's going on?
They're celebrating him. They think he's a hero. And you can bet there are people that went and killed themselves because of that. That is so wrong. It's not ethical. I work in television.
I mean, Caleb Maupin says something isn't ethical. I mean, that means something coming from him. Hey, Riveroon. I mean, I just gotta say, I mean, I had absolutely no fucking idea that this is what he was going to be talking about. Who waits this long to have a take on this? I mean, I guess you can't accuse him of trying to, like, ride the algorithm and say topical things. I suppose there is that. But on the other hand, I had no idea that this is what we're going to be talking about. And, I mean, if that's going to be sort of a, like, triggering thing for some people, I could totally understand that. And I've got other stuff by him that we could also look at. Let me just offer that.
And one rule in television is that if somebody kills themselves, you cannot do a story on it.
I mean...
You know that?
Really? First of all, like... I don't think that's a rule, because I've seen TV news do a story on people who have taken their own lives. Second of all, though, like, okay, so the idea is, if it's a rule in television, that famously ethical part of society that is television, that therefore it's a rule. Like, what ethical code is this?
You're not allowed. If somebody jumps off a bridge, if somebody, no matter what, if someone commits suicide, you cannot talk about it in television. You cannot write a news report about it for the newspaper. It's the first thing they teach you in journalism ethics. That
really? Is it? Like, what? Why? How the hell would you know, Caleb?
You cannot report on suicide.
And the second thing they teach you in journalistic ethics is you cannot fall in love. Like,
why? Because it is well documented. If someone kills themselves and it's on TV, the next day 2 or 3 people kill themselves because they saw it on TV, right? And it's part of how mental illness works.
Wow, I'm glad this guy's going to tell us how mental illness works. I mean, he's already explained to us that, I mean, the way ethics works is you look at the practices of TV stations and you apply that to your daily life. That is the Caleb's categorical imperative, apparently. So now he's going to tell us how mental illness works. That's fun.
Mental illness that leads one to commit suicide is encouraged by media coverage of suicide. Right?
Like, okay, because you can generalize like that. Like, I mean, that there are all sorts of things that can lead people to that. And no, not all of them would be encouraged by that. And again, we're like, in this universe where we're just going to pretend that he didn't also, like, release a fucking manifesto, and that this wasn't a very clearly political act within a context where this is actually a sort of political act that a lot of people have done. It's not one I would personally recommend either. I mean, apart from everything, it looks like it fucking hurts. I mean, Jesus. In that sense, I think it is inherently discouraging because, again, that fucking hurts. I don't think that people who are just looking for a way out are necessarily going to go that route because it fucking hurts. But, I mean, now we get to hear this guy talk about, like, because all mental illness is just one thing, apparently, according to Caleb.
And is it right? Is it wrong? I don't care. It's just a fact. If someone kills themselves...
Well, I mean, I think what the reason people want to know whether that's right or not is because people are curious if what you're saying is in fact a fact.
And it's all over television. People kill themselves, right? That's just how it works. And this Aaron Bushnell guy...
I mean, citation needed. I mean, I feel like there's probably something to that. But at the same time, I also really don't trust him to be particularly accurate on these things.
You know, again, I'm glad that he sympathized with the Palestinians. I'm glad he had empathy for them. But he didn't have to kill himself.
I mean, what is the point of this? What exactly is the point of what he's doing here?
And, you know, I don't even really blame him necessarily.
Well, it kind of sounded like it, and maybe if you're gonna talk about this, why don't you, like, share what he wrote? He was very clear, and actually, one of the lines that he wrote, and he said, this is what the ruling class, thank you, Riveroon, this is what the ruling class has decided will be normal. And that stuck with a lot of people. And it's like, yes, thank you, exactly. And, I mean, he's talking about this, first of all, this idea that people were like, oh, that's amazing what he did, or whatever. I mean, I don't think anyone fucking said that, because, again, I mean, it's horrible. And it's horrible that he felt compelled to do it. But I can understand that, you know, I think we can all understand that level of desperation in the face of all this. And especially from somebody who was saying that they were possibly going to have to participate directly in it. But, I mean, at the same time, like, people sacrifice themselves in a struggle in all sorts of ways. Like, okay, so are we going to say there was footage, I mean, it was some of the most amazing, like, footage out of the resistance in Gaza a few months ago. This guy runs over a berm. He's with the camera guy and with his buddy in their little 3-man team, and he runs and he jumps over this berm and gets on top of a tank that is on the other side of it and drops this fucking I forget what it was called. It's not a Shuad, it's a smaller version, directly into the hatch of this occupation tank. And you hear these guys both saying, holy shit, I mean, they're certain that this is the last they've seen of him, because he only has 5 seconds to get away from it. And then he comes back. Like, I mean, so everybody, including probably that guy, was pretty sure that that was what they call a martyrdom mission. So are we saying that if you take extreme risks for a cause that's inherently bad? I mean, I could imagine Caleb saying something like that, because, I mean, he doesn't stick his neck out for anything, really. He doesn't really do anything. But, I mean, there are fucking moments, and there are moments. And I don't think second-guessing something that is already as done as it can fucking be makes any sense. You can only just figure out how you move on from there.
He was so mentally ill that he killed himself, so I don't think he can be held responsible for his actions.
I mean, he's dead, so I'm pretty sure he can't be held responsible for his actions.
But I do absolutely blame Brian Becker. Brian Becker, the leader of the Party for Socialism and Liberation.
I mean, I have absolutely no reason to believe that PSL did anything but fuck this up in some way, because that's kind of what they do. But why are we talking about this 2 years later?
Went out of his way to write a special letter, not from PSL, not from Answer, but from Brian Becker. And I got it. I'm not even a member of PSL, and it comes in my inbox. I didn't know who Aaron Bushnell was. The first thing I get, special...
Wait, I mean, this guy is meant to be a journalist, and he's the last one to find out who Aaron Bushnell was?
Message from Brian Becker, Aaron Bushnell, and it's all about how Brian Becker loves Aaron Bushnell. Brian...
I mean...
Becker thinks...
I mean, I am utterly unimpressed. Yeah. Yeah, it was a fucking desperate act. And, I mean, every single time that you look, I mean, there is a history of the, like, in South Vietnam, under a U.S. occupation, monks did that. I mean, I remember there's a well-known example in Chile. There was a guy by the name of Sebastián Acevedo, a worker in Concepcion, during one of the national days of protest, I think in 1984 or 1983, something like that. His daughter, Candelaria, had gone out, and she got picked up by the military police, and he couldn't find any sign of her anywhere. And so he went to the Solidarity Vicarage, and he asked, can you help me get her out? And they were overloaded because hundreds of people had been picked up by the military police that day, as usual. And, you know, we went from one, you know, police post to the other to try to find him, to try to find his daughter, and nobody had any answers for him, because that's how it worked. They wouldn't, like, tell you. And then suddenly, then he decides in an act of desperation, just trying to get attention for what's going on and to, like, get his daughter out alive, he, like, self-immolated on at the Plaza de Armas in the center of the city. And a movement was ended up being named after him, the Sebastián Acevedo movement against torture. And it's like, okay, so he did a desperate thing, and he did a desperate thing because of a horrible thing that's going on. Are we saying that they shouldn't have named this movement after this guy who made that sacrifice to try to get his daughter out? Like, I mean, I don't think... I mean, leaving aside the weirdness of talking about this 2 years later, like, why... Like, I mean, this is... I don't think telling people in utterly desperate situations, like second-guessing people in utterly desperate situations... necessarily, especially with this like carping, moralizing tone, like, what's the point?
It's amazing. And I looked at that and I fumed with anger.
I mean, that's what you normally fume with. Usually you just don't need to, you don't need to specify. Nobody fumes with joy.
Fumed with anger.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly don't need to say it twice.
And I fumed with anger because I know...
Or 3 times. Jesus Christ, how many times are you going to say fumed with anger? I mean, did you fume with anger by a stream of
something or two about the PSL.
I mean,
okay.
I mean, there's like literally nothing he can say about the PSL because literally everything that sucks about the PSL is true of his group.
I've been around leftist circles and
around them, yes.
You know, mental health is a problem among young people everywhere in this country right now.
I mean, I'm so glad we're going to hear like this sort of the more you know mental health segment from this creepy ass cult leader who sexually exploits his members.
Right, the suicide rate is much higher than it's been in previous generations. There's a big problem with mental health, right? These phones are not good for young folks.
I mean, yeah, it's the phones. It's not the fact that people's economic existence is collapsing. It's not the fact that, you know, the climate is kind of pretty fucked. And you have government and you have like politicians who basically act as if the fact that everybody's, you know, standard of living is collapsing isn't a real problem and they do nothing about it. No, it's got to be just the phones. That's all. I mean, I'm not saying that that's necessarily always a great influence and certainly not always a great influence on people's mental health, but I would say, I mean, from my own experience, from people I've also, you know, heard and read, that, I mean, their relationship to mental health is a hell of a lot more complicated than this reactionary thing where it's just like, oh, well, if they didn't have their phones, their mental health would be great. Like, tell that to, like, trans people, you know, or queer people generally, living in some isolated community where there's no others. You know, well, I mean, Caleb would probably say isolating them is probably better.
Not good for anybody, really. And we've already got that. And also, if anyone has ever been around PSL, if you think there's mental health issues among the masses, wait till you hang out with PSL.
Wow. I mean, so he's actually, like, just mental health shaming now. I mean, this is, wow, this guy is just, what a fucking sleaze.
Right.
I mean, and that's not a defense of PSL because they suck. But this guy is sleazy. This guy is a next level sleaze.
I mean, Google PSL boyfriend, Party for Socialism and Liberation boyfriend, and see what comes up. Google Party for Socialism and Liberation abuse.
I mean, yeah. Google Center for Political Innovation abuse while you're at it. Maybe. I mean, yes, Google those things if you want to have some idea why a lot of people say stay the fuck away from the PSL. You could also Google PSL coordinates with cops, and you will get further indication of why so many people will say to stay the fuck away from them. But, like, Caleb Maupin talking about this? You're going to talk about, like, you're going to be talking about looking up people's abuse scandals, Caleb?
Yeah. The group is full of people with mental health issues, all right?
I mean, the society is full of people with mental health issues, though. You think there are no fucking mental health issues in your creepy-ass group? And that's not to say that there's something fun that I'm not doing the thing that he's doing. I'm just saying, people living in a society that is on so many levels just traumatic to live in, you're gonna find people with mental health issues. And, groups that are recruited from people who live in that sort of a society, they're going to be mental health issues in the group. And I don't think that necessarily being in a group where this guy is your fucking ideological leader is necessarily a therapeutic experience. This is not medical advice. But I don't think that any reputable mental health professional would say, like, the best thing you can do if you're experiencing mental health problems is to join a creepy cult with a sexually exploitative bullshit artist with no personality.
And Brian's got to
At the
know
helm
that.
of it.
He's the leader of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. So as the leader of an organization full of 19 and 20-year-olds, many of whom has mental health issues, Brian Becker decided to use his platform, to use his position as the respected leader, to announce to everybody that he thought a suicide was awesome.
Oh, is that what he said? Is that, like, are you quoting here? Hello, that was awesome. I'm Brian Becker, and I approve this message. They don't say that anymore. Probably because they know nobody approves those fucking messages, really.
Now, you want to talk about irresponsible leadership.
Yeah, let's talk about irresponsible leadership with Caleb Maupin. Let's get into it.
You want to talk about somebody who does not care.
I mean, okay, but why are we talking about this with Caleb Maupin? It sounds like we're talking about him.
About the young people in his organization.
Wow, see, that's the difference. That's the Caleb Maupin difference there. Caleb cares.
You want to talk about somebody who is utterly unconcerned with how their behavior affects others.
Okay. I mean, and it's like, it's not that I'm saying, because again, fuck PSL, actually. I'm totally unimpressed by that organization. There's all sorts of stuff that is wrong. And his search tips, I do not take any exception to those. Those are good things to be searching if you are thinking about joining PSL. But this guy is going to talk about this shit?
Utterly, I mean, that is like a sociopathic move.
Okay, so that is a sociopathic move. So what do you call this, Caleb? Hey, Adria. Like, this is I mean, I kind of can't take my eyes off of this. This is like the biggest train wreck I think I've ever seen Caleb involved in.
For him to do that. For him, as the leader of a communist group that has a lot of 19 and 20-year-olds in it, to go out of his way to announce to the world how much he loves...
Yes, exactly, Riveroon. I mean, like, somebody who falls into a group like this and doesn't immediately say, wait a second, this guy seems like he's full of shit, I don't trust this guy, is somebody who probably does not necessarily have a great deal of self-respect, for example.
Suicide. He's basically admitting he doesn't care about the young people in his group.
I mean,
he doesn't care about them.
You have this fucking email, you could be quoting it, as opposed to just saying that he said it's awesome. Because I have a feeling he did not say it's awesome. Best self-immolation ever! Signed, Brian Dicker, great leader, PSL. Like, I mean, I'm not familiar with that guy, I'm just familiar with his shitty organization. But I have a feeling that that's not what he said. And what, was he supposed to just pretend like that wasn't going on, like everybody hadn't seen it? What's the point of that?
He's not concerned about their mental health, he's not concerned about it.
I mean, I tend to think he probably isn't, because he would do something about abuse in his organization if he was.
And it's infuriating, but he wasn't the only one.
Yeah, he definitely isn't the only one who doesn't care about the mental health of the people in his organization. That's true. He really isn't the only one like that, Caleb.
All the communist groups did this, right? And, there's basic things, basic principles, right? Left adventurism. Left adventurism. Right? That's not the answer.
Was anyone saying it was the... First of all, I don't know that this counts as left adventurism exactly. But also, is anyone saying it's the answer? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what makes this whole thing wild. That is what makes this whole thing just, fucking... You almost expect lightning to be striking him at some point. Him sitting here talking about, this guy does not care about his members' mental health. Even if that's true, look at the fucking mirror.
Build a mass movement. Some guy lighting himself on fire.
Hello, Badger.
Is not gonna change the world. We need to build a mass movement.
Was anyone saying, wow, thank fuck we don't have to build a mass movement now? Who is he arguing against? Apart from the fact that this is 2 years ago. And I do not understand why he's suddenly bringing it up now. But who is he arguing? Who exactly said, it's really good what Aaron Bushnell did because now we don't have to have a mass movement? In fact, I would have to say, my recollection is that actually did put wind in the sails of the mass movement that was already building up.
Some isolated assassination, we oppose terrorism, individual terror. This happened during the Vietnam War. There was a guy who lit himself on fire.
There were a whole bunch of South Vietnamese monks, actually.
All the communist groups said, that's very sad. The guy was a Quaker. He was a Quaker, a religious guy.
Is he leaving out the monks in Vietnam for a reason? Does he not know this?
Right? The Communist Party, the Socialist Workers' Party, all of them said this is very sad that this Quaker guy did this, but we don't support this, We don't think it's the right thing to support it. We need a mass movement. That was the message. That was the message of the Communist parties, the People's Daily, the People's Weekly World. That was the message of the Workers' World Party. That was the message.
Was the Workers' World Party even there at that time? I feel like
the Socialist Workers' Party, the militant, they all said roughly the same thing, which is it's very sad that this Quaker man, felt so much for the Vietnamese people, was so outraged by the Vietnam War that he would light himself on fire and kill himself. It's very sad that he...
Yeah, but did they do what you did, Caleb? And also, the Socialist Workers' Party back then is not the Socialist Workers' Party in the U.S. now, which is just a really, an even creepier cult, if anything, than Caleb's little...
He would do this, but it's still wrong. That's not the answer. We don't promote that kind of thing. That was their response.
Again, this guy has 2 paragraphs of Marx that he loves to quote, but he doesn't give us quotes from this. He knew he was going to, why can't we see what people were saying?
But I guess...
if I'm going to base an entire thing that I'm about to do on what certain people said at a specific time, and it's written down, I'm going to have that in front of me so I can get it right. Why aren't you showing us?
Now, that's not the response. Now, the response of the communist groups was to celebrate what Aaron Bushnell did.
Really? Again, define celebrate.
That is unethical. It is absolutely unethical. Right? It's absolutely unethical. You cannot celebrate.
Give an example. Show us an example of them celebrating, Caleb, because I don't think you're going to.
Suicide of anybody, right? You cannot do that, right? And to uphold that as an example. Look, I
don't think anyone upheld that as an example. Do you, Chad? Do you remember somebody? Do you remember anyone saying that what we all just need to do is fucking self-immolate for Palestine? Because I don't remember that happening, because nobody fucking said that.
There was somebody who lit themselves on fire out after one of Trump's court dates.
I don't remember that, but I mean, okay.
And do you think that wasn't inspired by all the coverage around Aaron Bushnell? I mean,
I don't remember this happening at all, but
it's awful. It's absolutely awful, but it comes from a lack of empathy.
Oh, Caleb's gonna tell us about empathy.
A lack of empathy, a lack of concern.
A lack of concern for what? A lack of empathy with who?
And it was because Aaron Bushnell was going viral on social media.
Well, that is why everybody had to acknowledge it. Because, millions of people had seen that stream, or, the VOD afterwards, and they had seen what he wrote. And, you can't just pretend that didn't happen. At that point, you do kind of have to talk about it. I mean, that doesn't work either.
It was the trendy, hip, cool thing to do.
Really? Then why? It was the trendy, hip, cool thing to do, Chad. You remember that whole fad where everybody was self-immolating that didn't happen?
And I don't mean Palestinians here, right? Palestinians feeling this way is one thing, right?
Well, I mean, why don't you... It would be interesting for you to talk about what, say, people in Palestine had to say about this. Since we're talking about it, I mean, he also avoided talking about, people in Vietnam, interestingly. I mean, but people in Palestine and Yemen certainly acknowledged it as well, and acknowledged his sacrifice.
Palestinians are dying, they're being bombed, and they say anything to make this stop. That's different. But for American leftist anti-war activists to promote what Aaron Bushnell did was beyond unethical.
But nobody... what do you mean promote?
Beyond unethical. I've made mistakes in my life. I've made...
no argument here. Chad, are you surprised to hear that Caleb Maupin has made mistakes in his life?
Decisions. That is one mistake I will never make. And it is shocking to me to see how Brian Becker and others went out of their way.
This is from last month. Why is he suddenly talking about this now? He's talking about it like he's fucking Rip Van Winkle, and he fell asleep under a tree right after this happened, and he just woke up and he's still pissed off. Why are we talking about this now?
Take action that would result in the death of many of the young people who look up to them. I mean, and whatever happened to responsibility? Luigi Mangione was a similar case, right?
I mean, okay. I wonder if journalism school says something about how we're supposed to talk about people who are maintaining their innocence and are presumed innocent in an ongoing trial where they have successfully challenged a whole bunch of the alleged evidence against them.
We don't support left adventurism, but it was cool on the internet. It was cool on the internet that people have lost their sense of ethics.
Wait, okay. People have lost their sense of ethics, says Caleb. I can't even say that without laughing a little.
Right? What is right is not always popular. What is popular is not always right.
Sometimes somebody is wrong and unpopular, and that is the Center for Political Innovation.
Right? And it may have been popular to support and cheer for Aaron Bushnell because it would get you lots of likes and shares, and
what do you mean cheer for him? This wasn't a competition. Most people didn't hear about it until it was after it was over. Like, what do you mean cheer for him?
It was going viral online, but it was still wrong. And it may be popular on social media to cheer for Luigi Mangione.
I mean, again, yeah, this guy was just talking about the things you learn in journalism ethics. I don't know how he knows that, since I seriously doubt he ever took it. But, I mean, I do believe that speaking about somebody as if they are definitely guilty when that is very much in dispute is frowned on by journalistic ethics.
But it's wrong. And that suicide is wrong, and it is a big problem, and mental health is a serious issue.
Like, okay, I mean, I can't think of anything that makes less sense than morally judging the decision of people who, like, take their own life. Like, I don't think that actually helps anything either. That does not actually strike me as the most responsible thing to do either. Because, again, you're talking about a level of desperation where a lot of just the normal ways of thinking about things don't work.
And you just shouldn't do it. But yet, the entire left was unanimous in saying, woo, Aaron Bushnell, yeah, we need more people to do something like that.
No, Chad, do you remember that when everybody was like, yeah, we need more self-immolations? Like, I must have just missed that. I must have been on another planet or at a different timeline at the time. Because I don't remember that response.
I mean, it was
Woo!
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it really is unbelievable. I do not believe it. And I would advise anyone watching this, do not believe it, because it's not actually true. Adrien French says, his self-awareness has sunk to a new low. Yeah. This motherfucker talking about
the Mangione case. Again. Right? His individual...
I mean, there's a way you can talk about what you want to talk about without constantly saying that the guy is guilty when he maintains his innocence and the evidence is dodgy as hell. Like, since we're talking about journalistic ethics, you can just talk about the D. Brian Thompsoning of UHC.
For an assassination, the answer to America's healthcare problem.
I mean... Interestingly, I've seen anecdotal reports that United actually denied fewer claims after that. So it seems like maybe some people got healthcare because of it.
No.
Whoever did it.
Who?
Wow. Caleb Maupin addresses the issues of the day. Will assassinations fix healthcare? No. Damn. That would have been so easy, though.
The answer is building a mass movement. But
I mean, like, the thing is, building a mass movement isn't really the answer either, because it depends what that mass movement is doing. We've seen some mass movements come and go, and a lot of them did not achieve a whole lot. Like, I mean, there was the mass movement, the huge mass movement against the invasion of Iraq. Millions of people got together to stand against the invasion of Iraq. And what happened? Fuck all. Iraq got invaded. Because there was it was just people expressing their opinion. And that only works if the people in power give a shit what your opinion is, and they didn't.
It wasn't cool on the internet, was it, right? Luigi is so good looking, and all of it.
Yeah, that's what this is about. He's pissed off at Luigi because the man cannot take a bad photograph. There's literally not a single picture of him that does not look like he's like a fucking GQ cover model. That's why he's pissed off.
I mean, it's frustrating to me. And if it wasn't for us, it wasn't for CPI.
It's frustrating to him how everybody thinks that Luigi Mangione is hot.
Who would be saying this? I wrote a book warning about the danger of an American ears of lead. That's what my book is called. The Luigi Mangione case and the danger of an American...
Like, I mean, it's wild that is what he's going to use to say that there's a danger of an American anni di piombo. Like, I mean, fascists have been doing shootings, doing all kinds of actually murderous attacks for years and years and years, and it doesn't get talked about. But like, somebody shoots one insurance executive.
Years of lead. And I warned that the years of lead, an escalation to, extreme violence, that is a method for de-escalating and controlling and basically waging a counterinsurgency.
Yeah, nobody celebrated it. Yeah, exactly. There's a difference between celebrating something and saying, look, this is what he gave his entire life for, and it was a thing that we absolutely need to be finding whatever thing we can to make it stop. And so he wanted, so you say, like, okay, he said that this is supposed to be, his contribution to making it stop, and nothing else was working, nothing else is working so far, that we've been doing to stop this, to raise awareness, yes, to like completely turn public opinion against the regime doing it. Well, at least one of them, that it's worked for that. But yeah, so I mean, in the context, that is a more accurate description. Really, it was used as a means of trying to stop the genocide, which is indeed what his last wish was.
Right? Is that, that in Italy, they had all kinds of crazy left adventurous violence and terrorism. And
I mean, let's just remember, it's interesting that he says it in the case of Italy. I mean, yes, there were a bunch of armed leftist groups. That's true. But that those armed leftist groups are not the reason there were years of lead. Not alone, because there were armed fascist groups, and they were also going around shooting everybody. And you had the intelligence services, and you had Propaganda Due, this fucked up shady lodge in the within the Italian secret services. Like, I mean, acting like it was just a bunch of leftist groups.
As a result, Italy wasn't able to leave NATO.
You also had the mob.
That's what the public wanted. Well, right now in America, they're threatening to attack Venezuela. 70% of Americans are opposed to bombing Venezuela. CBS News.
I mean, remember, this is his peace candidate saying this. The guy that he just went so hard into MAGA means peace and all that shit. And so the way that's worked out is that Trump, attacked. This is from a few weeks ago, so Trump had not yet actually attacked Venezuela directly.
70% of Americans say don't bomb Venezuela. The American people are more anti-war than they've ever been. And the only way the establishment can prevent that overwhelming anti-war sentiment on the part of the American people from being put into practice is
by ignoring it. I mean, as long as it's just anti-war sentiment, they can just ignore it. That's the thing. We've been here before. You can just ignore it. That's all they need to do. It's not like, does he think that if enough people say in the polls we don't want this war, that suddenly the politicians are physically unable to do it?
A years of lead strategy. You got to read Frank Kitson. You got to read.
Yeah, Frank Kitson did not actually say this, and it is good to read Frank Kitson, Brigadier Frank Kitson, as he then was, of the 1st Parachute Regiment of the British Army, a butcher in Kenya and then later in Ireland, and the doyen of the study of what's called low-intensity conflict. And it is actually, I also recommend reading his book. if for no other reason than that you understand that Caleb did not read his book or did not understand it.
The books of the great counterinsurgency strategist William S. Lind. I quote them in my book on the Luigi Mangione case. Right this is my book. By the way.
I mean, did he make sure to use the word alleged in his book? Because if he didn't, then that's kind of libel.
That I wrote on after they were celebrating the Luigi Mangione case. I wrote a book, The Danger of an American Years of Lead. This is my book.
Wait, he's doing all of this to plug his fucking book. That because it's all about the ethics to Caleb.
Load. I don't know why it's taking so long. Here it is. Oh, it's going around and there it is. All right, The Danger of American Years of Lead. That's my book. And in that book,
God, this is marketing. Wow, I mean, Mr. Ethics here.
I pointed out that the way counterinsurgency.
Now I'm looking at this title and I'm feeling like Kevin on English for Everyone. We cannot say an American Years of Lead. Years is countable and it is plural. So we have to say the danger of American Years of Lead. Let's try it together. Are we experiencing the danger of American Years of Lead?
Operations are waged in our time. They are waged this way, right? That William S.
Oh yeah, I mean, his favorite person to quote is Caleb Maupin.
Says that the story of David and Goliath. The story of David and Goliath has been told for 4,000 years. And has there ever been anybody
Bueller
who heard the story of David and Goliath and sympathized with Goliath?
Yes, Hillary Clinton. Was it you who mentioned that earlier, or was that River Rune? And the wild thing about this, having just put out 2 books myself, at least, been involved in the publishing of 2 books myself, the amount of time between my submitting the manuscript for the Cullen Thai book and that actually being ready to go to print, it was over a year. A year of proofing and typesetting and sending the proofs back to me so I could look over it, and me sending the proofs back to the copy editor so the copy editor could have another look, and then reconciling both of our ideas and figuring out the cover design and all this shit. And Caleb just fucking takes a Dulcolax and he drops 6 books in a month. What I'm saying is, nobody edited these things. Nobody even fucking proofreads them.
No. Right? Everyone who hears the story of David and Goliath sympathizes with David. And that the way insurgencies, like the Vietnamese, like the Algerians, the way that they're successful, is that they capture that energy. Americans and
well, I mean, they don't just capture that energy, though. I mean, a big part of the reason those insurgencies were successful is also because they kicked the ass of the people who were oppressing them.
Human beings in general, we support the underdog.
I mean, it's interesting that he's looking, we're looking at this genocide in Gaza and 2 years of some of the resistance fighting a longer fight than they had ever fought before, and absolutely imposing record losses on Israel, and he very specifically avoids even talking about the Palestinian resistance.
And that insurgents,
he's talking about, the Battle of Algiers and Vietnam.
Become the underdog, right? They become the underdog. Here's the book. They become the underdog.
Here's the book. Just in case you didn't know, this was a big marketing thing, because I'm all about the ethics.
Underdog, and we support the underdog. We support David against Goliath. And so the way to defeat an insurgency is, what you do is you make it so it's not David versus Goliath. It's David versus the other David versus the other David versus the other David.
I mean, this is one way, yes. But, I mean, these days, there's like, there are decades of counterinsurgency technology between, you know, the war in the north of Ireland and the years of lead and right now. And they've learned all sorts of new tricks. And actually, one of the tricks in the, you know, counterinsurgency bag of tricks these days has everything to do with, like, pacifying people and convincing them not to do anything.
Versus the other David. And Goliath, I mean, he might be big and strong, but he's just a nice guy. He's just sitting back. He's not doing anything. Who cares about Goliath, right? Goliath, he's a big friendly giant. He just sits there, you know, eating an apple and watching and saying.
I think he is, the apple is poetic license.
Don't hurt each other there, Davids. You know, try not to hurt each other out there. And David fights David, and David fights...
Well, except, see, where this analogy breaks down, I hate to point this out, but, like, whoever did Brian Thompson, that wasn't David versus David. Like, this is really not a great example. This is a terrible example, because, again, yes, part of the issue was you had these groups and they were attacking each other. And some of those groups were actually the state. Yeah, true. Same thing, but that's not, like, the examples he's come up with, neither of them fit. Like, neither of them fit, and not least because the thing is, like, as I said yesterday, the thing that really sort of distinguishes our situation from the war in the north of Ireland, one of the key sort of strategic aspects, is that there's no actually organized, like, paramilitary force defending the communities that are under attack by, you know, state and parastate fascist groups. So, I mean, which is why this analogy sucks shit, actually, Caleb.
The other David, and David fights the other David, and the Davids are beating the crap out of each other and hurting each other, and Goliath sits
I mean,
there
could one of them hit Caleb for me?
and just says, "Oh boy, I hope nobody gets hurt too bad. Geez, you guys ought to de-escalate out there." And eventually,
I mean, and actually, the funny thing is he accidentally just used the buzzword of modern counterinsurgency, which is all about de-escalation and what's called negotiated management. The idea is to sort of diffuse anything oppositional about a movement by saying, okay, we're going to work out, you just talk with the chief of police and you're going to work out the best possible route for your march because we want to make sure that you get what you need. And then, and all we need in exchange for that is you just need to tell us who's going to be there. And you got to make sure that you've got some people who can keep everybody in line so nobody does anything too oppositional. Like, de-escalation is actually a big part of what we're talking about, but you wouldn't know that from listening to Caleb.
the Davids beat each other up so bad that Goliath wins by default. That's how you wage an effective counterinsurgency. That's what you do, right? And that's what how the British defeated the Provisional IRA.
I mean, they didn't exactly defeat them, though. And actually, I mean, to the extent that you could say that they were defeated, I mean, they were defeated by the counterinsurgency strategy that I'm talking about, which was to buy them off. To say, look, you can present sort of fake win to your people that will ensure well-paid jobs for a lot of your top leadership within the British Empire. You know, they got to become their own Palestinian Authority before the Palestinian Authority became... Well, no, actually, the Palestinian Authority already existed. Oslo was going on, just started out, within those years as well. I mean, to the extent that you can say that the Provos were defeated, they were defeated by buying off their leadership and getting them to agree to decommission in exchange for getting to be, like, their own, like, Palestinian authority.
The British military realized that every time the British military went out to fight the IRA surged in popularity. So what did they do? They
didn't really go out to fight the IRA for the most part. To a great extent, what they did was just terrorize the civilian population in the community that supported the IRA.
They formed Protestant counter gangs that went out and fought the IRA. And then the British government said, wow, Protestants and Catholics shouldn't be fighting each other. Right? We don't need ethnic division. And then they funded Trotskyite organizations.
Wait, okay. Now this is a version of what Trotskyite organization are we talking about here?
That fought against the IRA, and they...
Like, the only group I can think of that claimed any kind of, communist ideological standpoint that was opposing the provisional IRA in the north of Ireland actually was the official IRA, later the Workers' Party, and they were not Trotskyists. They were actually very orthodox Marxist-Leninists, to the extent that they they spent huge amounts of money advertising the complete works of Kim Il-sung in the pages, like full-page ads, color ads in the Irish Times for a long time. In fact, one of their senior people, Sean Garland, several years ago ended up getting arrested because he had managed to import a super dollar press to Ireland from the DPRK. So, like, I don't know what the fuck group he's even talking about. I can't think of a single group that was active, like a Trotskyist armed group involved at all. Like, the INLA weren't Trots.
Said, wow, look at these extremists, these communists, the IRA communists are killing the Trotskyite communists. Trotskyite communists,
The IRA communists are killing the Trotsky? Who the hell does he think he's talking about? Like, who are the Trotskyites in this? Like, there are names for these organizations. Like, is he saying the Irish National Liberation Army was Trotskyist? Because I've read, I read an entire fairly authoritative book on the subject. I don't remember anyone saying they were Trotskyists. The Workers' Party, or official IRA, as they were also known, they definitely were not Trotskyists. The Provos were not Trotskyists. So who the hell are the Trotskyists in this?
And then they had the Vatican teamed up with the British, and they had these marches where Protestants and Catholics held hands, and they said, we want to just stop the killing. And meanwhile, then they funded drug gangs to fight the IRA. So the IRA entered an alliance with other drug gangs to protect themselves, and they said, wow, drugs are not good.
I mean, there is some truth to that bit, although I don't remember the IRA actually being... if anything, what happened is a lot of... This is especially post-Belfast Agreement. You had a lot of Republican groups just sort of pivoted to be just, like, kneecapping street-level dealers and stuff.
Drug gangs? Why is the IRA getting involved in that? Drug gangs are awful. And they were the big friendly giant just sitting back going, oh boy, why are all the...
Except the thing is, it didn't work in this sense, because nobody... the only people who really liked that the British government looked good to in all of this were the people who were pro-British loyalist assholes in the first place. Like, the people in Republican communities weren't looking at the British government as a big friendly giant. It's worth noting that for the whole time that this is going on, one of the big slogans was, collusion is not an illusion. It's still a big mural in Belfast, because it's still a big issue, because everybody kind of knew from the very start that the British government was running these loyalist groups.
that's killing each other. You know, I mean, the IRA is fighting the Protestant gangs, and the Protestant gangs are fighting the IRA.
Like, who does he think is saying this? Because, I mean, this is not... I mean, that who maybe in the U.S., maybe in, like, England, this is how people were seeing it. But I have not gotten the impression that that was a significant viewpoint within the 6 counties. I mean, in the 26 county state, I mean, certainly there were, like, liberals who took that line all along and resolutely avoided any fact that might dissuade them from it. But, like, it is such a fucking mishmash what he comes up with.
The drug gangs are fighting the IRA, and the IRA is now joining the drug gangs. That's awful, and oh man, that's
I mean,
horrible.
actually,
Now
it's worth noting that the loyalist groups were also involved in drug gangs. In fact, even more so, I think, possibly. Because, I mean, which is, I think, as I remember it, part of the reason a lot of Republican groups actually pivoted again to, like, going after street-level dealers. I mean, you have groups, I mean, you see the murals, if you go through West Belfast, of, like, Republican Action Against Drugs and other groups like this, whose basically their role is they kick the asses of, like, street-level dealers and stuff.
Got the Trotskyite communist groups that are killing IRA people. Oh, it's so horrible.
What Trotskyite groups is he talking about?
And then the IRA surrendered. And that's what you got.
Happy New Year's. Like, okay, let me just make sure that, okay, in the Troubles in Ireland. I just want to see. Okay, there was one small Trotskyist group in Ireland, the Irish Workers Group. It was called... Where the hell's my mouse cursor? They were affiliated to the League for a Fifth International. They operated from 1977 to 1995. And throughout their existence, it's worth noting, they supported the IRA. So no, the IRA was not fighting the Trotskyists. And the Trotskyists did not have their own armed group.
The Good Friday Agreement. It's a very effective strategy. If the population is solidly against you, and you want to win...
The trouble is that the trouble has been all along, in the case of the 6 counties, that the population is not solidly against Britain, because it's settler colonialism, and the reason that settler colonialism is so intractable is you've got this settler population that is just die-hard loyal to the empire, die-hard loyal to the, like, colonial metropolis. And so it isn't... I mean, this is the difference, actually, between the struggle in the 6 counties and the struggle in the rest of Ireland. Because in the rest of Ireland, there wasn't really a sectarian split. Like, Protestants in the rest of Ireland, you know, Church of Ireland people, they also were Republicans. They also wanted Britain gone. But Protestantism in Ulster, and there is a great, let me see if I can find it. James Connolly, Northeast Ulster. There we go. This is such a good piece, and it bears a lot of contemporary relevance as also to, like, the subject of Zionism. James Connolly, Ulster, Lickspittle. There we go. Catholicism, Protestantism, and politics. Hello, death of Philippe Deuxième Auguste. Okay, this is a great article by James Connolly, one of the leaders of the Easter Rising, talking about, like, sectarianism in the North back all the way in like 1913. And much of what he writes, I mean, and they didn't have the word settler colonialism, but it's all about settler colonialism and the sort of ideological distortions it can work on a settler population. And so much of it works exactly if you transpose it almost directly to Palestine. Because you see the exact same thing with like with the settler population there, where, I mean, it is easily the most reactionary, the most like fascy Jewish population on the face of the earth. No, I mean, it's not even close. There's no country where you have, other than, where you have a more reactionary Jewish population than Palestine. And it's for the same reason that Protestantism in the north of Ireland is associated with reaction, even though historically it had been associated with social reform, throughout continental Europe.
By default, what you have to do is you have to make sure that the oppositional energy of the population is diffused and confused.
I mean, this almost sounds kind of like what happens if there's a proliferation of centers for political innovation.
You have to get the dissidents to attacking each other, to beat up on each other.
I mean, this guy has spent his whole career attacking the dissidents.
You have to make it confusing so no one can tell who the real David is. And nope.
I mean, this guy isn't the real David, but he plays him on TV.
One can, and pretty soon people, and you have to, the other thing, and this is an important thing, libertarians talk about this also.
Oh, wow. I mean, if libertarians talk about it, it's valid.
Is that if you create a lot of instability and violence in society, people turn to the state for protection. And that's true, right? There's an awful trend in the world today. It actually relates to one of the questions somebody sent in, but, in countries where drug gangs are a big problem and such, in a lot of cases, police that are fighting drug gangs, police will become the heroes of the community for doing violence.
I mean, the thing is that in the places where that is such a huge thing, the police are all... It can't become that huge a thing without the police being directly involved in it, actually.
Illegal things. And that, part of the phenomenon of Bukele in El Salvador...
I mean, speaking of somebody who's up to his neck in gangster shit...
is that those drug gangs are so horrible that Bukele comes in there and he violates human rights left and right. He sets up these awful prisons.
I mean, he's literally connected to MS-13, for fuck's sake. Bukele works for MS-13.
There's a lot of people that are saying, fine, just stop the drug gangs, and they accept it.
I mean, but that hasn't actually happened.
And if you create enough violence and instability and chaos in society...
I mean, in fact, one of the people that ICE sent back to El Salvador was a guy who was going to be testifying as a cooperating witness in a case against MS-13, whose entire role was going to be to give evidence on the relationship between Bukele and MS-13, and how MS-13 would actually dial back the violence and drug activity anytime Bukele needed to claim some kind of a victory. Oh, yeah, I mean, very specifically with MS-13, Bukele and MS-13 are like this. Literally, during one of his campaigns, he needed to show that he was actually putting an end to the drug violence. And so MS-13 cooperated with him, and they calmed their shit down for a couple of months so he could say, look how safe the streets are now. That's thanks to me. And then, he got in an extremely dodgy election. And, I mean, not just for that reason. It was dodgy on all sorts of levels. And then things went back to normal.
People will naturally start to tolerate and even ask for authoritarianism to deal with it. Right? And that in Jamaica, there's been issues where, the police, the police come to a.
I mean, the thing is, that isn't a natural thing, and it all depends on what else is going on. Like, tolerating the state is not something that really happened in Republican communities in the north of Ireland to a great extent, because they still also saw the state as the enemy. And they were still, trying to organize to be, on some level, autonomous of it. So they didn't have to, call them in. And so it really depends what kind of organizing we've got in place. Whether people, look to the state for this thing, for things. Although, he's picked such wonderful examples because, literally the only people who seem to be angry about Brian Thompson are Ben Shapiro, the media, Donald Trump, and Caleb Maupin. Literally everybody else seems to be pretty cool about it. I haven't heard anyone calling for the state to get more repressive in order to protect insurance company executives.
Come to a house, there's a drug dealer or something, the police come to the house and a crowd of people are cheering for the police, to arrest the drug dealer, and the crowd starts egging on the police to shoot the guy in the head, and they finally just shoot him in the head and the crowd applauds. Things like that are happening.
Where? What do you mean? Where's that happening? That's a very specific example, Caleb. Where is that happening? Because I have not seen, an outpouring of love for the armed wing of the state in the United States recently. Even allowing for the fact that this is from a few weeks ago.
Around the world in developing countries, because people are living under the terror of drug cartels, the terror of instability, and the state is the alternative. And, if you want to live in fascism, if you actually live in fascism, make sure that Luigi Mangione and Aaron Bushnell stuff starts happening regularly, and people will support fascism.
Well, what is your explanation for why that hasn't happened? Why that, hasn't happened yet? And aside from that, he's acting like he doesn't support fascism. Some of his best friends are.
Right?
He's a big fan of fucking Dugin, who is a fascist.
If you want to live under Bukele, right? If you want to live under a government like that, make sure that Luigi Mangione and...
Again, he doesn't even use the word alleged.
And killing and assassinations and all of that is happening.
Who does most of the killing, Caleb? You got any statistics for us?
And as a result, people will support authoritarianism. And that, those of us who want to build a socialist society, we're not...
Because he is a city builder.
...trying to create chaos and instability. We're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to build a solid movement of people who are there for each other, people who care for each other.
Where is the evidence of him doing any of that? The people he smears, the people that he is constantly denouncing and smearing and claiming are some kind of a psyop are doing tons of that sort of thing more than he does. Yeah, he's an assbull, for fuck's sake. It's not that, and it's not that the people that he smears are doing anywhere near enough. Oh, none of us are doing enough, really, of that sort of mutual aid, mutual care sort of networking in order to face what we're going to have to face. We're going to have to do way more than that. But that's still way more than his group is doing. Oh, I try.
That are trying to improve things and trying to create a government.
And really, that James Connolly, if you haven't read him, is really he's an excellent read. He was a great strategic thinker. He was a wobbly. He spent a while with the IWW in the US before he came back to Ireland. His stuff is really excellent. 100% of LMs? What are LMs? As we start to wrap up, since it is that time. I'm gonna just drop this link in chat again. And I'm just going to wish everyone a good night. Thank you for joining in. It's always good to see you. I hope you enjoyed the stream, and I will be back Friday night. Oh, LM. Oh, right, LM, those initials. Right, got it. Have a good night, and I'll see you on Friday or in the Discord. And let me just drop that Discord link, just in case somebody wants it and hasn't got it.